Hello, I'm Emily Marison. In this module, we will focus on baked goods and cottage foods. We will be answering these 3 questions about home-produced foods. Where can you make these foods? What foods are you allowed to make in your home? And how do you follow the requirements and rules for making and selling food produced in your home? I will begin to answer these questions, and Peggy will continue the discussion in the next video. So where exactly is home? It may seem like a strange question, but Ohio law defines the home and describes the home kitchen quite clearly. Home is the primary residence occupied by the residence owner. The home kitchen contains only one single or double stove or oven used for cooking, and this equipment is designed for common home use, not commercial use. The stove or oven is operated in an ordinary kitchen within the home. There are many kinds of foods that can be produced in our home for sale. In Ohio, these are divided into 2 categories. Here is the basic difference between cottage foods and home bakery foods. Cottage foods pose a lower risk of causing foodborne illness. For example, many cottage foods are high in sugar or low in moisture, which means they do not support the growth of disease-causing microorganisms. However, there are foods that can support the growth of these harmful microorganisms, so they require temperature control, like refrigeration, or special food handling considerations to keep these foods safe for consumers. These types of baked goods fall into the home bakery foods category. Because of these differences in food safety concern, in Ohio, no license is required for producing and selling cottage foods. A home bakery registration is required to produce and sell baked goods that are not considered cottage foods. There are also other legal requirements for both categories that Peggy will address later. The Ohio Department of Agriculture determines which foods are cottage foods. This is a very specific list. I'll briefly cover different types of foods that are on the Ohio Cottage Foods list. Bakery products like cookies, breads, brownies, cakes, fruit pies and cobblers, unfilled baked donuts, waffle cones, and pizzelles. Fruit jam, jellies, chutneys, and fruit butters, but this does not include freezer jam or sugar-free products. Remember, one of the reasons jams and jellies are lower risk for causing foodborne illness is because of all that sugar. So it's no surprise that candy is also on the cottage foods list. Another group of foods are snacks, including granola and granola bars, dry cereal and nut snack mixes, and popped popcorn, including kettle corn, caramel corn, and the like. Dry mixes, including baking and cookie mixes, herb blends, soup mixes, seasoning blends, and tea blends. Coffee, flavored honey, but only if you are a beekeeper, and similarly, maple sugar, but only if you are a maple syrup producer. Some examples of home bakery items that would be considered potentially hazardous include cheesecake, cream pies, pumpkin pie, fry pies, filled donuts, waffles, raw dough, noodles, items with cream cheese frosting, and pepperoni rolls. These foods can only be produced in your home for sale if you have a home bakery license. This is only a suggested list. It's not comprehensive like the cottage foods list. There may be other foods that you were hoping to be able to make in your home. If you remember back to our first module, I mentioned where there's a will, there's a way. It may be that you cannot make a food in your home, but you could produce it in an approved facility, like a shared-use kitchen. Be sure to read the content for this module, as there is more detail there. When it comes to packaging and labeling, please note that a cottage food product may not be packaged using reduced oxygen packaging or vacuum sealing. There are certain types of microorganisms that thrive in environments without oxygen, so this type of packaging equipment can only be used in special facilities. A label is important for many reasons. It can help us convey a message for marketing purposes. There are also several requirements to fully inform a consumer of their potential purchase. The first is to include the common name of the food on the label. This is called a statement of identity. Next, your contact information is required, including your name and address. This is known as the statement of responsibility, so a consumer could contact you with any questions or concerns. The net weight is required with US weight first, followed by metric weight in parentheses. Then, every label must have an ingredient list using common names, starting with the ingredient that weighs the most, listed first, down to the least ingredient last. If an ingredient is a combination of other ingredients, then those must be listed in parentheses. Be sure to list any major food allergens in the ingredient statement. You could also include a separate statement of contains and then the name of the allergen immediately after the ingredient statement. There are very specific rules to follow if you intend to make any nutrient content or health claims, including providing a nutrition facts panel on the label. For cottage foods, the label must also have the following statement: this product is home produced. For foods made with the home bakery registration or license, if the item requires refrigeration, then the label should contain a statement like keep refrigerated or requires refrigeration. If the product will begin to lose its quality in 30 days or less, include a date that indicates the product's peak quality period, such as best by, and then you fill in the date. As you start putting the finishing touches on your My Food Business Action Plan, here are some more key questions to consider. Will you be making a cottage food, a home bakery food, or something else? Where will you make your food? How will you design your label? I've gone over a lot in this video, so I encourage you to read through the materials and to check out the Ohio Department of Agriculture's resources about cottage foods and home bakery foods.